How's it going, everybody? It's me, CJ. Very tired right now. Um, it's only like 7:47, but AP Spanish Lit exam tomorrow. This exam is probably the hardest one offered at my school, and I did not do a great job studying throughout the year. That's honest mistake. Hopefully, I'll learn from that. But been writing some essays for practice. I made this slideshow. It's about 71 slides of review. So we're gonna talk about it a little bit before I go to sleep. And yeah. So basically, we start off with the Middle Ages. All you really need to know. All the religions kind of lived together. It was mostly like Muslim influenced, and men had the power. Romances were made a lot, and yeah. So this is a really whack story. So basically, this dude, he like hears about like you gotta make a good first impression. So when he like marries a girl, he just starts like killing a bunch of animals. You know, a lot of these stories are pretty whack, but this is pretty much like one of the wackest ones. You know. Oh man, I'm tired. All right, so we got Romanza del Rey Moro. Um, so this is when like this can kind of like move in like different eras, but it's when like things were starting to go downhill for like the Muslim people, and he just starts blaming everyone, like the Muslim king, and then yes, and the message is just like bad leadership, leads to disaster and karma and stuff, and yeah, La Conquista. This is when Hernan Cortes went to Mexico and just started killing people and Aztecs pretty much. And Aztecs believed life happened in cycles of creation and destruction. God sent messages through nature, and a lot of stuff was word of mouth. Um, and the Aztecs were kind of violent, so that kind of like self-destroyed them a bit. So, Segunda Carta de Relaciones, Hernan Cortes was just like, yo, I'm doing some cool stuff down here in Mexico, even though he really wasn't. Visión de los Vencidos, basically what the Aztecs saw. They were like using a lot of like metaphorical language, and they're like, man, there's like fireballs in the sky or something, and yeah, just shows the indigenous perspective, I guess. Siglo de Oro. So this is when Spain had a ton of money, and Carpe Diem. So for some reason they just had a ton of money, and lots of stuff. A little bit of stuff was happening, like corruption in the church, but stuff was going on quickly. Renaissance was happening, and when you're rich, like you kind of just start focusing on enjoying yourself. Apparently, and so a lot of focus on the body and beauty, and enjoying the moment. And that's about it. So Lazarillo de Tormes is just kind of a joking book, and I feel like it's kind of like showing that, actually there's one, he kind of looks at like the religious hypocrisy, which kind of goes to like the church being corrupt and stuff, but I feel like this kind of just represents the Siglo de Oro, because I mean, it's just like a fun tale. Like we're having a good time. We got all this money, and yeah. So this one goes back to like carpe diem and enjoying yourself. And oh wait, I forgot. I really wanted to kind of go over these authors. So Alejandro Lucanor, first story. Does it say authors here? Oh, here we go. Written by Don Juan Manuel. There's a lot of Dons and Juans and Manuels, but this is the OG Don Juan Manuel. Romance de Rey Moro. No one knows who wrote that. Visión de los Vencidos. I'm not going to remember that. Maybe Miguel Leon Portilla. but I'm probably not going to remember Bernardón de Sahagún. Segunda Carta de Relación, Hernan Cortes, that's a lock. Lazarillo de Tormes, that's an anonymous one. Interesting. And then the one we're talking about is by Garcilaso de la Vega. Yeah, there's no way I'm gonna remember them, but maybe I will, and then that would be a free point. So yeah, he's just basically talking about a girl, and he's like, enjoy your youth now, because it's gonna be gone and stuff. And yeah, Don Quixote, this dude like reads a bunch of books, starts imagining he's a knight, and then people are just like kind of messing with him and stuff. And then reality hits hard, but sometimes imagination makes life worth it. And this is kind of another like silly thing, because they're just kind of a little silly in the Siglo de Oro, I guess. And then we got the Barroco, and yeah, like basically stuff was like Spain was going downhill, and then people were sad, and for some reason, like depressed people, I guess, they just like using like fancy language, and so you're gonna see a lot of fancy language, a lot of lenguaje figurativa, and then we got basically the same soneto, but this one has a C in it, and then this one's just like you're gonna die one day. So yeah. Is there anything else that needs to be important here? People talked about morals. Yeah, that's alright. So basically, almost all of these have just social unrest. So here, let me just see. Let's see what social unrest is in Spanish. Malestar social. So you can just say that whenever you want, and then you're probably right. So like, this kind of represents the malestar social del movimiento. If you don't know, and I know I'm not that good at speaking Spanish. I'm trying to write. So yeah, this one's just the same thing, but it's like you're gonna die instead of just like enjoy yourself. A little bit more negative. El Burlador de Sevilla. So this is about a dude. He's kind of a little prick, and then like he killed a guy, I guess. And then the statue dragged him to hell. And yeah, messing with people always comes back to you. So that's kind of like teaching a moral, I guess. Homer's Necios, Sor Juana. Alright, so Luis de Gongora, El Burlador de Sevilla. Oh, wrong one. El Burlador de Sevilla. Burlador de Sevilla. Tirso de Molina. Hombres Necios by Sor Juana that's a good one, and she's basically like criticizing men and kind of just showing how ridiculous it is, and yeah, men are super unfair sometimes, and Sor Juana ain't messing with that. So this is like a religious one, I guess, and it's basically a psalm where the message is, I guess, just have faith in God during tough times. And does that one have an author? Francisco de Quevedo. And yeah. Alright. Romanticismo, I like this one. So people just kind of focused on being enlightened, I guess. And there's still wars, malestar social, as always. Individual freedom, emotions, breaking style rules, simple style. Doesn't really follow logic, I guess. This one, the lady's like, man, nature's so amazing. And she's like stuck in a storm. But yeah, even when nature's chaos, like, it can be pretty beautiful. And then this one is telling, like, even if you like love someone right now, eventually he's gonna be gone, and it's never gonna be the same. So this one kind of goes back to like enjoy yourself, which I mean it ties more into like emotion Romanticismo, and Gustavo Adolfo Becker, Jose Maria Herrera. On to Modernismo. So, Spanish colonies were becoming independent, defined themselves, and they were kind of just like talking to the U.S. They also focused a lot on beauty. Like a lot of these movements focus on beauty. So if you want to be safe, just say malestar social y un enfoque en la belleza, potentially. And yeah. So these guys were basically just like, man, I don't mess with the U.S. And this one was kind of just like, we need people that really just kind of embrace our own culture. And yeah, this one is just basically like Roosevelt, like you're a bum, you got powers, you don't really understand us like that, and we're strong, we have history and spirit, and we're not afraid to hold our ground. Generación del 98, once again, social unrest. People were a little bit more depressed for this one, and that's about it. San Manuel Martí is about this dude, this priest that like studies, but then people figure out like he actually doesn't believe in God, or that's what the narrator says at least, and then people can have doubts about themselves and still do good, and inner struggle can be its own kind of faith, whatever that means. And dado muchos cambios, where this dude's like, I've traveled so many people. A lot of people are fake, but a lot of people are pretty cool and humble, and so I guess they're just talking about like real wisdom, and that comes just from living a simple life. Realismo naturalismo. This is where people are just kind of mad about like the 9 to 5 rat race, or being out having to work for the machine and whatnot. And yeah. Yeah. Social unrest again. And they don't really talk about belleza on this one, so yeah, I guess they're just talking about the machine. This one is about this girl who has like pants that are like symbolic of like escape, and then her father sees him and just like beats her up and like takes her eye out or something, and then um, yeah, that's about it. So like she had hopes of being something else, but she got booted back into the system. And this one is like a kind of a little depressing one, where the dad's like worrying where his son is when he's hunting, which I know he died like a long time ago. And reality can be too painful to accept, but sometimes people escape to their own illusions. Whew. Damn, I'm not even halfway. So War Mismo, more social unrest. People just basically believe life doesn't matter. This one was just talking about how, this one kind of ties back into being like the machine, but it's a little bit like weirder and kind of conveys how life doesn't really matter like that. La Casa de Bernardo Alba. It's about this controlling mom. Uh, doesn't want him to have freedom, and it ends out as a tragedy, I guess. So it shows how kind of like goes to social unrest, and it's like, wow, control stuff and trying to control. It's just Alright, switch microphones. How long have we been recording? 15 minutes. Sidebound. Alright, so he's just a chill dude. Then he ends up getting arrested by the cops. And it's literally just because of his family. And that's about it. So I guess kind of relates to like being peaceful. I could still just get you in trouble. So basically, this one is just like, man, I'm tired of being a person. And then he just starts talking about some weird like schizophrenic stuff. And then, yeah. So this is basically just poems or stuff that want women's rights. This one is about, so she's like calls herself for being fake, and then the one writing is free and doesn't care what anyone thinks. So it's like a self battle, I guess. And society tries to defend women, but strength comes from being your true self. This one is about how like the men in her family never cried, but they kind of passed that sadness down generations. And it kind of talks about like masculinity, I guess, and pretending to be strong all the time isn't strength, and it's the pain that gets inherited and keeps hurting. Poesía Negra. This is basically about like Caribbean countries who face slavery or on like the end of slavery, and then kind of mix them all together. So, yeah, celebrates African culture, musical elements, and racial elements, and a whole bunch of stuff. So this one is about this guy he's talking about is like uncles, and they're like or his grandfathers, and one's white, one's black, and they're like, they're basically just like, you know, they all came from different backgrounds, but they all come together and make me. So, yeah. Mujer Negra. It's about this girl who makes her way from being a slave and then works her way up to escaping and then fighting for women like her. And, yeah, they help shape history. Boom Latino Americano. This is one's pretty cool. More social unrest, instability, rich differences between rich and poor. What else? Then magic realism, basically. People just like messing with that. Chacmul by Carlos Fuentes. Nicolas Guillen wrote that. Nancy Marajon. Chacmul, Carlos Fuentes. So he buys a statue, but then it comes real, and then takes over his life. And messing with ancient forces can backfire hard, especially if you think you can control them. And also kind of says like we shouldn't be messing with that ancient stuff anymore. La Jugada Más Hermosa. This one's about like people who find like a dead guy on a beach, but he's like so handsome that they just change the way they live. And yeah, shows that sometimes extraordinary stuff makes people change. So this one's about like a paragraph where he's just talking about the different versions of himself, and he does not sure who's the actual person, and it's trying to say like we all have different sides, and sometimes the version people admire isn't the one we truly feel inside. This dude gets sick, goes to the hospital, goes to the countryside in the hospital, but he's not sure. He could potentially be dreaming, and then he gets in like a knife fight at the end, and yeah, with like cowboys and stuff, and we don't really know what's happening in our reality, and we don't always control our fate, I guess. This one is probably one of my favorites. It's about a guy who crashes his motorcycle, wakes up in the hospital, but keeps dreaming that he's in some sort of like ancient indigenous tribe where he's about to get like sacrificed, but he keeps like drifting in and out of sleep. And then eventually he's like, all right, I'm gonna grab some water, but his hand goes through the water bottle, and then he's like, oh my god, the reality was the dream all along. And then he gets sacrificed. So it's basically saying like we don't know what's reality and what's not sometimes. So this one, what is this one? Oh, okay, yeah, this one is about like this mom whose son did a bunch of bad stuff, and everyone's just like judging her, but the mom is just like, I don't care. And it just kind of talks about how people judge the poor without knowing the full story, and they still deserve respect and humanity and stuff. No es ladrar los perros. So this one's about a dad carrying his injured son on his back, and he's like, yo, do you hear the dogs? Let me know. And then the son just doesn't really say anything, but then eventually the dad hears the dogs. He's like, why didn't you tell me? And I think this one's about just like helping people even when they've broken your heart. That's the point of love. Dos palabras. So this girl is selling words because she learned how to write, and she starts working with like this powerful dude, and he sells him like 2 words that just kind of haunt him, and he eventually just like freaks out. Does he kill himself or something? Oh no, he just kind of changed. Got a little crazy. Literatura Chicana. This was like Cesar Chavez. People were kind of trying to fight for justice. And yeah, lots of mixes of English and Spanish, themes of assimilation. Then this one's about a horse that's just so awesome and legendary. Then this one dude catches it, and it's cool, but then it escapes, and he's not even mad. He's just like respect, And so I guess the message is growing up means learning that freedom and beauty aren't about control. They're about respect and letting go. Oh dang, it's getting late. Se trajo la chera. So this guy's living a tough life, but he decides to work through it. And even when life feels impossible, nobody listens, you can still choose and not let the world break you. This one's about how like when family works together, makes stuff meaningful, even when like Christmas like isn't come together like you would have thought. Literatura contemporánea. There's dictatorships. That's about it. And then this one is just like, man, she's mad about stuck in traffic, but she realizes like the stuff she's mad at people about, she's doing the same thing. I'm not sure how this kind of connects with the thing. Yeah, I don't even know, but maybe it's because like in the cities, like the urban spaces, like people were kind of living that faster lifestyle. So yeah, that kind of stuff was happening. So yeah, hopefully I remember all these. If not, it's alright. Some literary resources, narrators, tones, repetition. If you don't know what it's saying, and you don't understand it, just say lenguaje figurativo. Here's some outlining. A 3IA equipedi. Pretty easy. Aber 1IA equipid. this is just also pretty easy. Oof. Wait. Shouldn't that be 2 rhetorical choices? Alright, then short ones, just like that. And, yeah. I'll go lie down now. This video was probably not good to study from me, but, yeah. I'm tired. If you want me to post the slides, leave a comment, and, yeah, bye-bye.